for Domesticshelters.org. And we are also joined by Ashley Rumschlag, who is the VP of Digital Services. She is doing amazing work there at Domesticshelters.org. It looks like we might have started a little bit late, but that's okay. So let's get right to it, ladies. I know that we're going to be talking this week. First of all, I've got a little story that I wanted to tell, and I had told Ashley in pre-show that there was an article that I had gotten during the week, and as I do many times, I like to earmark them for when we do go live. And it's a story of, first of all, I thought it was very interesting, Ashley, that I don't know if I mentioned, but so there was a locksmith that was called to a house to do a job. And it would have been different if it had been a plumber. Because think about the locksmith thing in all of this scenario. Just keep that at the back of your mind. So the locksmith is in the house and he notices that, there's a little bit of tension in the house, but he goes on about his merry way doing his business. And he realizes that the gentleman that's in the house is sort of not letting the woman out of his sight in any way, shape, or form. She's not allowed to use her cell phone. This guy apparently, as the article tells, showed up the night before as an ex-boyfriend and was very upset that this girl had moved on and was dating someone else. So again, the locksmith is going about his way. And, I have to give kudos to the woman in the story because what she did, which I thought was genius, was she went ahead and, because everybody's wearing masks. Can't mouth anything, can't really get a message out any other way. But she takes the palm of her hand and she writes 911 on it. And she shows it, when the boyfriend's kind of got his back just for a moment, she shows her hand to the locksmith. And he didn't really catch it the first time. So she did it again. He says, then they locked eyes and he sort of gave a half nod as to, yes, thank you. I've got your message. I kind of get the vibe going on in here. And when he left, he did call the police, and happy ending there. Ladies, I'll have you know that the Wasatch County Sheriff's Department didn't show up. I don't know exactly where that is, but Wasatch County, good on you for showing up, and good on this gentleman too, the locksmith. And isn't that wild though that it wasn't a plumber? It was like the locksmith. Is this guy trying to lock her in and not let her out? So anyway, don't know much more about it than that. We can only surmise, but what a happy ending for that story, and good on the guy for picking it up, and good on her for finding a way. Because I guess if there is a will, ladies, there is a way, right?
Yeah, and I think it just shows how creative survivors have to get in order to kind of, get the message out and try to, connect with someone who can help them. And it's, goes to show that this woman, felt that this was the time, this was a safe person that she could reach out to. So yeah, there's never two scenarios alike in how people, are able to connect for help and reach out. So
the fact that it was a locksmith, I'm kind of going,
Right.
Why does his ex-boyfriend want to change the locks on her house?
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, I digress. Let's get into what we're wanting to talk about here today. And what we're talking about are triggers, the triggers that survivors often succumb to, if you will, once they are out of a domestic violence type of scenario, situation. They've moved on. They seem, by all intents and purposes, to have moved on, doing better. But there are triggers, right? Things that can kind of pull you back. So what exactly, Ashley, are some of those triggers, and how do they affect domestic violence survivors?
Yeah. So just to kind of back up what a trigger is, it's basically any, like you'd mentioned, domestic violence survivors go through trauma when they're experiencing abuse. And it's anything in that person's environment that might cause them to, go back in time to those moments when they were, at their highest level of stress, anxiety. So it could be something like the smell of a certain cologne. Or, certain words or phrases that are spoken that can trigger someone to, revert back into that state of, hypervigilance.
A song, music is a big trigger.
Right. Yeah. There's so many different things. And, it can affect a survivor because it can cause them to actually change their day-to-day, lives. And it affects their day-to-day lives because they're trying to avoid once they kind of recognize what those triggers are, they're trying to avoid, coming into those scenarios.
Yeah. So, Amanda, what are some of the ways that to stop triggers? And is it possible to predict them before they happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's absolutely. I mean, I think most survivors probably, once they escape abuse, know what their triggers are, because once those happen outside of an abusive situation, they're going to have a reaction to it and realize that that's a trigger. So it can be, like Ashley said, anything, from a song to a place, to a smell, to basically someone yelling at them. I've spoken to a survivor who was really triggered by the sound of doors slamming.
Yes.
So what they did was they took pool noodles and they cut them and then put them on the frame of the door so that you could only softly close the door.
Okay.
And that helps. So I think the first thing to do is to try to be aware of what your triggers are. And then if you can, avoid them. I mean, if there's a place that you used to go with your abusive partner, don't go there anymore if you can help it. But some triggers you can't avoid, like sounds.
Like screaming is a huge trigger. A baby crying for me, I know, is a trigger.
A car door slamming, things that would denote that the abuser's home, those kinds of things. So I think then the next thing to do is to have almost like a safety plan in place for when those triggers occur, what you can do to talk yourself down from the ensuing symptoms that would happen after that. For some people, it's just panic. For some people, it's sadness. And then you have a plan in place. So that could look like anything from sitting down and doing like a 5-minute meditation. I highly recommend the Calm app, which is something you can download on your phone. They have meditations that are like 5 minutes long. I like to use it, and every day I just start my day real calm and then let my kids drive me crazy from there. But, like something like that can really take you down. Something as simple as deep breathing, turning on a song that makes you happy, turning on a TV show that distracts you, phoning in a friend that you trust, or even an advocate who can just be there to listen effectively. And then the other thing that I would recommend is if the triggers are causing a real big interference in your life, you can talk to a therapist. There's a therapy called EMDR, eye movement, desensitization, reprogramming. And it's a way to almost like reprogram your brain to walk you through triggering memories and then have you sort of do this process where your brain no longer reacts to them the same way.
Right. Wow. So I guess we already covered what are some of the common triggers of domestic violence survivors encounter. What are the most common? We've mentioned a lot, but what are the most common?
Yeah, I think we mentioned a lot of them. Some that I think of are like just, more visual cues. So, a specific fabric pattern or tile or something of that nature, specific kinds of clothing. It could really just be anything, in that person's environment, that any sense takes in, whether it's their sense of smell or all of that.
So how are we doing in the pandemic? In other words, how are some of our, our current events where a lot of us are, we're really like super tense or, depressed in some cases. Some are very anxious. I'm reading a lot online recently, especially women that are homeschooling, not being able to get out, worried about the money, may have lost a job, the anxiety around the election, all kinds of things that are happening right now. So, being quarantined, by the way, is never, I'm not going to say going nuts, but I certainly would like to see and hug somebody eventually. What a concept, just to be back in the same room with someone would be lovely. So how is all of this triggering survivors also? Is there a connection there?
Yeah, there's a connection there because we've heard from a lot of survivors who have told us that the quarantine has been triggering for them. Specifically the quarantine, but everything related to that, the pandemic and all the other issues that are happening simultaneously. Right. But when the quarantine started, isolation in this case was meant to keep us safe from the virus, but it's also a tactic that abusers use to isolate their victims. So it can take survivors back to a place where they weren't allowed to leave the house and see other people and go to their job. So specifically for survivors who are out of abuse, the thing that they need to remember is that they still have control. Even though there is a pandemic and a subsequent quarantine still in some places, they do have that control to leave the house when they want to. Even if places aren't open, they can walk around the block, they can drive their car around. So they just need to remember that this is different in the ways that it's different.
Yeah, it's now that they're in control and not someone else is in control of them. You know, you can't help a quarantine. You can certainly walk around the block, take your dog, whatever you do, and just, you know, sort of change up your atmosphere a little bit, change up, you know, go outside or go get the mail or run up to Walmart. You know, we all love Walmart. At least I know I do. I have the best times at Walmart all by myself. And I'm not sponsored by Walmart. But yeah, absolutely. So I want you ladies to, you know, first of all, we did, I don't know if I mentioned, I don't think I have yet, but, you know, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So this is why we are coming on as frequently as we are during the month of October. And I love it. I love seeing you gals and I love getting the message out. But can you give everybody a little bit more of a sense of just how Domesticshelters.org can help?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, what we try to create on Domesticshelters.org is kind of a DIY approach to, you know, finding help and understanding abuse. So what people can expect when they come to Domesticshelters.org is the ability to, one, you know, learn, so they can read articles, watch videos, read through lists, all sorts of different information that's easily searchable through the search box, in different categories they can look through. Toolkits that kind of combine all the resources together. So there's lots of different ways that they can kind of help themselves to understand what's going on and what they should do to stay safe. And then once, you know, someone kind of realizes that it's time to reach out for help, we connect them with the closest domestic violence program by allowing them to search by their location, giving them the contact information for, you know, that specific organization. So that they can reach out and make connection, you know, when they feel safe and when it's the right time for them. So we like to help people help themselves.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things I love getting, and I really strongly suggest that other people do the same, is to go to domesticshelters.org. You see it on the ticker on the bottom of the screen there, and get over and just get their newsletter, sign up for it. They do such amazing work. They have awesome newsletters coming out with all kinds of information that could be so helpful, you know, either to you or to someone you know. And I didn't realize that there was an Ask Amanda column.
No.
Yes.
Oh, so here's the one that came out that I found. I think it was this week. So Ask Amanda. Wearing a face mask is triggering anxiety, Amanda, for survivors of domestic violence who have experienced suffocation or strangulation. There is a way to calm yourself before putting on a face mask. Please tell us more.
Yeah, that was a survivor that reached out to us talking about the face mask that we are now all required to wear to basically all places. Right. And it was something that I'd never thought of before, but I guess that is triggering to a lot of survivors, to have a piece of cloth covering your mouth and nose and making breathing a little bit more different. I would say different rather than difficult, because you can still breathe.
It's different.
Hopefully.
It's really,
or you have their own mask.
It's not fun. It's not fun.
It's not. It's and it's something you have to get used to. So what we advised was to just basically practice at home before you go out and about with a face mask, is to take one at home, hold it over your mouth and nose for a second, and then take it off. Put it back over your mouth and nose, take it off. Again, it's kind of reprogramming your brain to remind yourself that you're in control of this. Yep. You can put it on, you can take it off. It's not anything that someone else is controlling. And then after that, you know, you wear it around the house for a couple minutes. You start getting used to it. You remind yourself that you can breathe just fine in it and that it's protecting you. It's not suffocating you. Once you get used to that, then you can head out and about. And then the other thing that we advised was, you know, if that's still a very triggering thing for some survivors, you can look into one of those clear face shields that doesn't go over your mouth and nose, but it kind of hangs down in front of you. You kind of have to check to see where those are allowed. Some places still require a face mask underneath those, but if there's no specific regulations, then that's better than nothing going out and about.
Right. Okay, ladies, so let's talk for a second about the Purple Ribbon Awards coming up in November.
Yeah, so we just launched that this month, kind of announced the program, and we're going to start accepting nominations then in January. So we're, you know, leading up and getting the word out about the program that's going to recognize those, you know, domestic violence professionals who really haven't been recognized before. And we're really trying to make it as inclusive as possible so that, you know, everyone who's part of this domestic violence movement, from, you know, shelter, you know, advocates, of course, you know, survivors, everyone, you know, that's really directly working with those programs, in those programs, but also the community members. So, civic groups, law enforcement, just really trying to be as broad as possible to make sure that everyone who's, doing the work gets recognized. And so I don't think I mentioned this last time, but we do have over $30,000 in grants that we'll be giving out to specific, to domestic violence programs. So it's really important that people, nominate those programs and people and groups, people that are, worthy of being recognized. So that way we can, make sure that they get that grant money.
So who is nominating, and where do they go to nominate?
Yeah, so anyone can nominate, and they would just go to purpleribonawards.org, and that'll direct you to the site where they can learn more about the program. We're encouraging everyone right now to sign up to be notified on January 1st, so that way, you can go ahead and make your nominations at that time. So just head over to purpleribonawards.org, to learn more.
Wow. And when is it again? I thought it was this November. I must have been wrong.
So no, the nominations start January 1st and will run through the end of March. So there'll be a 3-month nomination period, at which time then we will, go in, and we have a amazing panel of over 32 judges from across academia and domestic violence professionals, nationally recognized leaders in the field. And they'll go through and they'll actually judge all of the entries. And then we'll award Purple Ribbon medallions to the top 3 in each category.
Extraordinary. Oh, that is really cool. I also wanted to mention, and let's do that for all of the holiday Christmas angels out there. And when I say Christmas, I mean all religions around the holidays. And there are many, so I won't not name them all. But there is a way for the holiday angels, let me call them that way, that can help, that can donate. So why don't you tell us about that?
Sure. Every holiday season, Domestic Shelters comes out with their own gift guide that we curate with gift ideas and suggestions for anybody in your life. But a lot of them have survivors in mind. And these companies either give a portion of their proceeds back to a domestic violence organization, or they employ survivors of domestic violence or sexual assault to make the products that you're buying. So not only are you supporting small businesses in most cases, but you are also helping to give back with your gift. And some of these gifts are really cool that we got this year. So it'll come out early November. I would say check it out.
Well, what do you have? Give us a little. Can you give us a little clue?
Sure. One of the ones that I thought was really interesting, because I'm big on giving gifts that are also green, is if you've heard of Poshmark, there is something called Hopeful Handbags. And they take donations of designer handbags like Coach, Michael Kors, Kate Spade, that kind of thing, and you can buy them. And they're all in great condition. And then she takes the proceeds from that and gives it back to a domestic violence organization that's in the area of where that bag was donated from.
Right. And so if somebody wanted to donate an idea for the gift guide, is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. They can reach out to me at amanda@domesticshelters.org. Still got, a week or so to go. So if you think you have something, you could get in.
Yeah. Well, there you go, everybody. There's another way to be able to be a holiday angel. There are many different ways. There is also, Ashley, on the website, there's the possibility to donate through Amazon to different shelters. You pick a shelter. The shelters have already pre-selected whatever it is they wish for, that they need desperately. Tell us more.
Yeah, so if you go to domesticshelters.org and go to the donate tab, you can learn more about how to send items directly to shelters. This platform kind of has become even more important with quarantine and everything that's going on, because you don't have to go to the store, pick up the item, drop it off. It's all happening digitally, within a few clicks, really. You just go on, you search by your location, get a list of different shelters that have wish lists on our website, and then you can send them items. So it's very simple to do and makes a huge impact, because those dollars that are, you're sending them the toilet paper, laundry detergent, they don't have to use their cash, reserves for those items. Then they can use that for, survivor services and the things that make the impact as well.
Domesticshelters.org has just thought of everything. I mean, we've got awards going on. We've got gift guides going on. We've got Amazon that's been there. It's there all year round. So there is no reason why all of us can't be helping and donating and doing what we can. Again, do not forget that domesticshelters.org is there for you should you be in need, or anyone that you know. And please do sign up for the newsletter, because there's, again, so much great information coming out all the time. And certainly take a look at the website, get the help that you need, or someone else, again, that you know. And ladies, I guess we're good to go. I do want to give an appointment for next week, because next week we are going to be talking about financial abuse, another way of manipulation, another way of controlling, and another way of making sure that, you can't leave, but you can. So we're talking all about that next week. Any parting words, ladies?
No, I think we covered it all. I guess I'll reiterate Rita's point from the other day, but get out and vote. Very important to do that. Anything else?
No, I was going to do another plug for voting too.
Okay, good.
All right.
We're on the same page.
It's the biggest way to make a difference right now. So
yeah,
absolutely. All right, everybody. We do thank you for being with us, and we will be here same time, same place, this time next week. Goodbye for now.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the In the Limelight podcast, intelligent media for the savvy entrepreneur. You can listen to this and all of my podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora, and Inspired News Radio. You'll find all of my videos and the In the Limelight digital magazine on ClarissaBurt.com. And don't forget to connect with me on social pretty much anywhere. Stay well until we meet again. In the Limelight.